Hello, hello! I'd like to personally welcome you back to another episode of Alyssa passionately, stubbornly, and mercilessly trying to win an argument about a controversial subject. I'm kidding. I play too much. However, this presentation is in fact dedicated to informing and persuading my lovely audience to perceive a topic that certainly has a number of misconceptions tied to it in a brand new light. Weed, pot, dope, ganja, devil's lettuce, reefer, grass, or whatever you want to call it. Today we are going to be diving into the debate on marijuana. So, what is my take on cannabis and why should you believe me? To put it plain and simply, I believe that marijuana is more beneficial than harmful in terms of physical, mental, and spiritual rehabilitation. For that reason, it should be fully legalized in the United States. Don't just take my word for it though. There are plenty of scholars and medical experts that wholeheartedly agree with my opinion. In the next few slides, we'll be exploring the various reasons why this claim is warranted. To kick us off, we'll be talking about the physical benefits of marijuana. After doing my own individual research, plenty of evidence points towards weed being an aid in relieving pain and alleviating negative physical symptoms in patients with a number of illnesses. For instance, John Bello, who has spent years gathering an expansive amount of sound and reliable research on cannabis use, discovered that there have been many instances where marijuana has been successful in treating alcohol and morphine addiction. His findings, which were taken from a study done by Dr. Todd Mikuria, revealed that using ganja as a replacement for these highly physically addictive substances effectively curbed cravings and withdrawal symptoms, all while allowing the patients to slowly break their bad habits. Now you might be thinking, well, aren't there ways to treat addiction that don't involve the use of marijuana? Yes, absolutely. With that said though, why wouldn't we permit those battling addiction to have an alternative method at their disposal? But wait, there's more. Marijuana use also has mental benefits, especially for those who struggle with mental illness. Those who suffer from depression, anxiety, or PTSD praise marijuana's ability to lessen the magnitude of the terrifying and emotionally exhausting effects that these mood disorders are paired with. According to an in-depth study performed by psychologists of the Clinical Psychology Review, cannabis was shown to significantly lessen symptoms of anxiety and made individuals who typically identified themselves as socially anxious far more relaxed and comfortable in social settings. Research participants who had been diagnosed with PTSD observed that after smoking cannabis, their sleep duration and quality of sleep were drastically enhanced and reported that their PTSD arousal symptoms were decreased by up to 75%. Clinically depressed research participants were met with the most success after marijuana use, with consistent and substantial mood improvement being observed across the board. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, and other doctor-prescribed tablets are definitely not for everyone. The fact that a far more natural substance can work to produce similar results gives us all the more reason to advocate for its legalization. The third category I want to touch on is the spiritual benefits of marijuana. Cannabis is widely known to intensify spiritual experiences, which understandably causes people to become more in tune with their spirituality. As intelligently discussed in MD Julia Holland's book entitled Cannabis and Spirituality, An Explorer's Guide to an Ancient Plant Spirit Ally, cannabis has been used for centuries across different cultures to obtain what is referred to as the portal to inner stillness. In the realm of Buddhist spirituality, reaching the point of inner stillness is a spiritual journey that takes people away from ignorance and fear and transports that individual into an awakened state of mind. Similarly, Taoism promotes the use of marijuana to be used as a spiritual tool, which they believe amplifies feelings of gratitude, peace, and love. When reflecting on the current climate of the United States, it makes sense to hear that many of us have lost our faith or sense of spirit. If cannabis became fully legal, it could be more commonly used as a tool to reignite a powerful connection with our souls. What I have yet to mention in this presentation is that there are always two sides to a story. I've given you my side, but haven't done much to acknowledge opposing opinions. So, in this segment, I'll be addressing the main misunderstandings surrounding weed and providing my responses to them. Number 1. Though some may believe that legalizing cannabis might increase the likelihood of people getting into car crashes while under its influence, this does not necessarily mean we don't have the capability of enforcing laws that would strongly deter people from participating in this type of irresponsible and reckless behavior. From the account of John McCurley, a professional attorney, drivers who are caught driving under the influence of alcohol can be put in jail for up to 6 months, can be fined up to $1,000, and can have their license suspended for up to 6 months for the first offense. These penalties get even more severe if the driver gets pulled over for the same offense a second or a third time. If we ensure that states enforce the same or similar laws when considering driving under the influence of marijuana, then this prospective issue will not be nearly as much of a concern. Number 2. Marijuana is often stereotyped and wrongfully called a gateway drug to harder and more addictive substances. However, the National Institute on Drug Abuse argues that although THC has some ability to prime the brain for enhanced responses to other drugs, the large majority of people who use cannabis don't move on to use harder drugs. In fact, both alcohol and nicotine also possess the type of cross-sensitization factor that can potentially lead to a heightened response to other drugs. Yet, there is no controversy behind their legal status in America, is there? To avoid a double standard, marijuana should also be granted full legal status in the states. Number 3. Despite research acknowledging that marijuana can be harmful to people when misused or abused, there are plenty of other legal substances that can be equally as harmful when misused or abused. These substances include nicotine, alcohol, caffeine, and painkillers. To say that cannabis is any different from these legal drugs in terms of their ability to harm someone is not backed by evidence or any sort of reliable research. Number 4. It is not an unpopular opinion to believe that the use of any drug is immoral. However, if a drug is being used to help someone relieve their pain, or help them recover from a mental illness, or to become more in tune with their spirituality, then is it really all that immoral? We don't consider using drugs that doctors prescribe us to be immoral because we trust their judgment as professionals. That said, by analyzing all of the research that has been conducted on marijuana use, there is evidence supporting the idea that this natural drug can hold some of the same benefits that prescription drugs can. If we get rid of the negative stigma surrounding cannabis and break away from the traditional and outdated definition of morality, we can learn to adopt and accept marijuana into what we consider to be socially acceptable. Alright, we have officially reached the last slide of this presentation, and I hope you all have enjoyed the journey just as much as I have. Based on all of the evidence presented that demonstrates how cannabis is exceedingly more beneficial than detrimental in the areas of physical, mental, and spiritual health, it is clear that we should make the steps needed to completely legalize it in our country. I can't thank you enough for tuning in despite it being way past the date 420. And I'll see you in the next speech. Bye!